Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and you're listening to Frances Fox News from Other Dimensions. I think most of you are not aware that science says that there are probably 20 dimensions, but that they can actually prove that there are 11. All of our laws and everything are based on the 3 or 4 dimensions that we're most familiar with. But here in this podcast, you're going to get that extra information from other dimensions that will help you to make decisions, to feel better, to understand what's going on, and especially to survive in these chaotic times that we're living in, and where it's just going to get worse. So we're here twice a week to answer questions and to give you news from other dimensions. So let's start with the first news from other dimensions. Most of you know that there was a plane that went down in the jungle in Colombia, and that apparently the adults died, 4 kids did not, and they survived. What most people don't know, because that's not acceptable, because it's other dimensional, is that the military worked with shamans in that jungle. The shamans told them that the kids were fine and told them exactly the date in which they would be finding the children. And I'm sure they gave them a lot more information. And they went into a psychedelic journey with some type of herb like ayahuasca, but I think there was a particular name that was mentioned in the newspapers, which I'm not familiar with. They did it into multidimensional journey, got the information, came back, gave it to the military, and they found the 4 kids, and they're fine. Can you imagine all those plane crashes where we don't find out what happens until 2 years afterwards, after the insurance company, the military, the government tries to figure things out? Well, why don't you cozy up to the next shaman that you meet? Because you're going to get extra information. By the way, a lot of my followers call me a galactic shaman. And I find it a compliment because basically I work at that same baseline level on the planet, like shamanism, which Jesus Christ was, but also off planet. News from other dimensions. Tremendous success when it should have been total failure. Those kids should have died because of that extra information. Stay tuned to us, because the next few months are going to be like really interesting. So let's go ahead and find out what else you guys may be interested in knowing. Let me check the chat. Okay, typical issue. Somebody saying, I'm feeling dizzy and confused. What's going on with me? Well, 2 weeks ago, we put here on Twitter a mantra for those of you that are feeling dizzy and confused, which is basically all of us. There's a frequency shift going on. The vibration of the planet is changing, and that always makes you feel dizzy and confused. And then we have all the news that's shocking. So what you have to do is, first you need to know it's not just you. It's not just your head. You're not deteriorating. You're reacting to a change in the other dimensions. There we go, other dimensions. And the mantra is, even though I'm dizzy and confused, I love and accept myself. And it helps to stabilize you. So one of the issues that happens when we don't feel quite right, especially with our head, is we start to get really insecure. Like, what's going on with me? You know, what's going on? Where's this going to end? It's not going to end any place bad, unless you don't get a grip on it in terms of understanding that you're not the issue. Also, contact with nature will help a lot to stabilize you. More earth element. What they recommend in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. You don't want evil to be able to come in to your head, your mind, your house? Then you need to be in the present, which on this planet means you need enough of the earth element. So you're going to be learning a lot about the elements here, because basically, if the elements are not balanced in your home, in your body, in your life, then you're sick. Planet Earth is sick because of global warming, it has been said. I'm not getting into that fight, okay? I'm not getting into that. Global warming, too much fire. And yeah, there's too much fire, because there's another symptom that we have, which is emotional violence and frustration, exhaustion. All of those are symptoms of an excess of the element of fire. So try to take care of that at home, and everybody's going to be able to sleep better, feel better, be less tired, and be less aggressive or less unhappy. let's go on with the next question. You're here listening to News from Other Dimensions. And again, I'm FRANCESFOX, trained remote viewer, and then trained myself with shamans, with my clients. So for a couple of years, I was taking care of just little kids with big problems, autism, cerebral palsy, and big deal executives, private bankers. That was my clientele for 2 years. Between the two of them, I was able to see a lot of what was going on and come up with a lot of alternative remedies in the other dimensions that influence the way your life is on the physical dimension. So, not quite sure why I started to say that story, but let's go on to the next very interesting question. The thumbnail for this podcast is this. My goodness. AI. For those of you that are listening to the podcast and not looking at the video, what's on screen, but you can see because it's a thumbnail for the podcast, is a skeleton head and a little picture of a Ouija board. Why do I have this up? What does a Ouija board have to do with AI? Ouija boards have changed people's destiny because they open portals, and you are not able to determine who's going to come in from other dimensions into your life, into your home, to affect your health, your prosperity, or your children. AI does exactly the same thing. AI, every time you use AI, you're giving permission to beings from another planet, and it is a particular planet. It's not this generic out there type of situation. It's a particular planet that are more than pleased to cooperate with you and give you magical products through AI that we can all tell required some thinking by somebody, but not us. Well, who do you think was thinking? So how the Ouija board, first place, most people have never worked with a Ouija board. If they have, they get obsessed for a little while and then they put it away never again. So it's really not, comparatively speaking, it's not like a generalized planetary experience or happening. AI is. Every single product from AI, whether it be a speech, research, or a photograph, is a portal to other dimensions, to a particular planet whose intention is to come in via that portal. When Elon Musk asked last week, how many years do you think we have before AI destroys us? That is a totally legitimate question. So, quick story. I read a home for a TV show. And when I got to the living room, I said, there's a huge portal there. And the woman said, oh, well, I bought the house, whatever. And I said, let me see where that came from. And it came from when she had worked with a Ouija board when she was 14, and she was now in her 40s or 50s. She was carrying that portal with her. That's the problem. It doesn't stay behind. And we found out afterwards, or we read afterwards, that the husband was not doing well in terms of health, and that was also due to that portal. And there was evidence of that portal because one day there was a party in the kitchen, and everybody heard this huge scream, god-awful scream from the living room where the portal was, and there was nothing there, and that had come in through the portal trying to disrupt this get-together of women that were trying to make amends having to do with something that had happened. So she was, let's say, 50, and she was 14 when she worked with a Ouija board, and then never again because she knew something bad had happened. We're talking, 36 years? And it was still with her. One Ouija board, one person. Multiply that with AI, and you will understand why Elon says, how many years before AI destroys us? I don't know if he knows about the Ouija effect or the portal effect, but I do, and you do too now. So now you're going to say to me, well, we can't really get away from it. Isn't that how the Second World War started? well, we can't do anything. I'm not talking about a war starting. I'm talking about you have free will. And sometimes you really have to stand up for stuff, even if it's so much easier for everybody else just to go with the flow. And the flow right now is AI. And sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I really don't want that in my house. In my office, I have read everybody the Riot Act, and I have said, I do not want anything produced on AI. I suggest you ditch from your computers everything that has AI. And every once in a while, somebody from my staff, they're all incredible, will produce something, and I will look at them suspiciously and say, where'd you get that from? And they will show me their Adobe whatever that they're working on, that supposedly they're not working on the AI. But I get suspicious because it's so good looking. So yes, they make it like little candy so that we want more. And so that when we have it, it feels really good. But meanwhile, you let this spiritual mafia that is extremely savvy into your life. You're going to have to make a lot of decisions having to do with what's going on in the other dimensions. And I'm not sure that you're going to be able to pretend that it's going to be okay for you that your 16-year-old be playing with AI all day long. You can pretend, but for that, you're going to have to fall asleep. And for that, you're not going to be awake when you at a time in which you really need to be awake because you need to make decisions. Lots is changing because we're in the middle of a paradigm collapse. So AI, just like a Ouija board, pass it along. But when you tell somebody, don't just assume that they're going to brush it away. Do a visualization to where the words that you're saying actually reach them, that they can actually hear it. They can actually take it in, and they can actually think about what it's going to be doing to their 16-year-old. Magic exists, has always existed. You are going to become magical relatively soon because superpowers have now they're allowed on planet Earth. Isn't that so great? We're allowed superpowers now. We weren't allowed it before. I'm not talking about the government not allowing us. This is other dimensional beings. But you have to make choices because you can end up, and most people will end up on the wrong side of the line, and they're not going to know what happened to them. They're going to be like victims. So for you not to be victimized by AI, you're going to have to make yourself forget the last 4 minutes of what I have said. And my intention is that you not forget. So I hope you stay awake at night thinking about this and what it is that you're going to do about it in your company. And yes, it's not easy. It's not easy. Next question. And somebody's asking, how do we protect ourselves from AI? How do you protect yourself from a portal like the Bermuda Triangle? A lot of people get lost there throughout decades, but nothing like what's going to happen with the AI. You protect yourself by not having it anywhere around. Why would you move in to a house that has a portal? Okay, well, you're not doing that, right? Right? If it's a haunted house, you moved into a house with a portal. But in this case, you're not moving into a house with a portal. You're bringing the portal into your house, into your bedroom, into your life. And those are decisions that you have to make, and that's what you need to be aware of. That you're responsible for the quality of the other dimensions and for ensuring that the activities that open portals don't continue on your watch. And for that, there's going to be a lot of mudslinging. People are going to be angry. People are going to be screaming, and people are going to be hiding their AI programs for those of us that have the extra information. And many people continue along bad paths simply by shutting themselves down emotionally. Oh, I don't feel anything, so I can do it. You're going to be seeing that a lot of people that are going to be asleep. It's a very negative subject. So I got a little bit down here. So I need to bring myself up, and let's see if we have a question that's a little bit not quite so heavy that somebody would ask how many years before it kills us all. Okay. They're talking about an economic collapse. But we've known about this potential, because you see the future is elastic and plastic. Prophecy is to let you know where you're going to end up if you stay on that road. Prophecy is wonderful, but you can't say, oh, it didn't happen. No. Future's elastic and plastic. Prophecy is to tell you that if you go down that road, you're going to end up in that place. It's a warning. It's information from the other dimensions, and then you are supposed to react. And rather than going, oh, another great flood is what's going to take care of all of this. No. What is it that you want? What are you creating? What is it that you're doing that that prophecy may come true in your life and the life of your loved ones? Are you just giving up? Did you already give up? Did you already give up? Are you one of the people that's documenting everything bad that has happened? Oh, that was me for a long time. Documenting everything bad that has happened. To go, oh my God, look at this, and now look at this, and look at this. My favorite friends, my pets. I want to say hello to somebody during my podcast. Okay, so is there going to be a collapse in the economy? Oh my God, I think that we all kind of know that's going to happen. Does that mean it has to be bad for you? No. For the first time in the last 10 years, humans are able to create their own reality. You can create your reality different from that of your neighbors or the people that work with you. Your mind creates your reality. And you can create a reality in where you can be okay or prosperous or have everything you need when everybody else is collapsing and laying on the ground with not able to confront what's happening. But for that, you need to have a frequency that's not so heavy. You need to have taken care of a lot of your childhood memories, which is the thing that messes up human beings the most. You need to have purification practices, which don't mean going to the Himalayas for a week at all. Going to your backyard. Hugging trees is very stabilizing emotionally. And for that dizziness, hugging a tree is probably, if you want something to settle you in 10 seconds, that's probably the thing I would recommend. So this collapse of an economy, your life doesn't have to collapse. But let's go back and let's try and not have the economy collapse the way basically every single person is predicting. Other than the ones that are like, oh, everything's going to be okay, but they really are not basing it on anything but of their deep desire that it be okay. So I'm having some frequency attacks right now, but I'm not having, my frequency isn't attacking. I'm being attacked by frequencies. We have enemies that know all about psychotronic weapons, which you don't know anything about. You know, the wars today, and then I need to be really careful. Wars today are not fought with guns and missiles and tanks and killing the other guy. Yeah, you see that, but that's drama on the physical dimension to keep people busy. The real wars are not there. And the wars of the ETs that are not such great guys, they're not going to come in and kill anybody. They don't have to kill us. They control us. So, but you're not going to be able to handle that unless you know about the other dimensions. You're going to walk around and we're being controlled. Okay, but I don't see anybody tying your arms behind your back. I don't see you in jail. How are you being controlled? They're controlling your mind. What's fed into it? How many entities are there? Not specifically like 10 versus 15. What quality entities? What is the intention and instructions that are given to the entities that come in through that AI portal into your home because you thought you could sneak in a couple of little graphics and nobody would really, the spirits wouldn't realize that you had opened up the AI program. Are you kidding me? We are like, compared to how much the aliens use their mind, we use nothing. In other words, in the 60s, they said humans use 3% of their brain or mind. I don't remember which word because they don't really know. 3%. Well, compared to the ETs, we use 1,000th of what it is. They're like these big computers. They can see everything, know everything. They can cover everything. By the way, you can too. And for that, you need to have a widened lens on who you are. Because who you are today is you just incarnated. You're a personality. You even have an astrological sign. That's not your soul, and that's not who you are. That's not where you came from, which is always off planet. So economic collapse, yes. And you're going to be with it. You're going to go down with it, or you're going to struggle, or you're going to be able to say, listen, I didn't lose my house. This is great because everybody else. But why go with it? Why not create something different? And for that, today I said, I'm going to allow what some people have considered for a long time to be my craziness, because they really didn't accept that I was trained by the government. The government knows all about this stuff, the part of the government training, which is not the whole government, obviously. So I am going to start right now on this podcast. We are going to initiate my response to chaos having to do with prosperity. And I have been preparing for this since 1999, but I didn't have this technique I'm going to teach now, which will be really quick. And I would call the class as Chaos, Prosperity in the Midst of Chaos, since 1999, and we're in 2020. For 23 years, I've been waiting for this. So I have a, so those of you that have questions, you just have to wait a little while, okay? Because this is like really important, even for those of you that are here that think you have something else that's more important. I have a chat that I do that's called Sanaciones Pink, which means pink healings. I call it pink because the whole room turns into pink, and it's documented. If you go look at my YouTube channels, you'll see that lately everything around me looks pink. And if you go to 2 months ago, everything around me looks the color that it is. So in this session, the first thing I do is remove black magic that we all have in the back of our heart chakra. So I'm going to do that right now for all of you that are listening now live, or that you listen to it later because you weren't able to get it live. And then I'm going to give you a healing for maybe 2 minutes, a pink healing. And then I'm going to heal your bank account. I have not done that before with this Sanaciones Pink. I'm going to try it today. And I am actually going to set this up at least once weekly to where you can come and we can do healings on your prosperity in the midst of chaos. Okay? So what you have to do is, if you're sitting, put your 2 feet on the ground and locate the 2 middle fingers of both hands and make them touch your thumb. See how your breath changes. And then if you can, if you're not driving, put the back of your hands on the top of your legs, thighs. Okay, so right now, go ahead and take your inner vision, your consciousness, your breath, and your thoughts to the back of your heart chakra, which is right where the bra strap is. If you're a female, it's right where you hook your bra. I think most men know where that is, so go there. And right now, I'm removing stuff from there. And those of you that see me in visual, you can see that I sat back in my chair. I'm much more relaxed because whatever I'm doing for you, I'm doing for myself also. I'm going to ask my producer if she could feel the difference. Could you feel it? My producer is shaking her head. Yes, she felt it. So I'm going to continue sticking my hand into the back of your heart chakra. Your breath is there. Your intention that this healing work is there. Actually, do the mantra. Please, God, help me with my intention to receive. That's all you have to do, to receive. Okay. Whoa, this is this great energy that is flowing. I've never seen it this beautiful flowing out of the back. Actually, only half of the heart chakra, but there's Nile green energy, and Nile green is one of the colors of the heart. So this is good. So I'm going to ask my producer, because I can't get to you, or those of you that are on the chat, can you feel the heart shot? My producer has her thumbs up like, yes. Okay. And now I'm going to start with the actual healing of you, not just the back of your heart chakra. So if you like, take your consciousness down to the root chakra, which is in between your legs. You better not have a cell phone there, because if you do, you're radiating your prosperity. I can't help you. And you know what comes off a cell phone? Microwave. Cooks meat. What meat do you have that's in between your legs? You wonder about sperm count? Okay, back to prosperity. Take your consciousness there. And I'm going to change my intention from teaching you and giving you a really interesting podcast so that you'll stay and listen and come back, and so that my mission will feel better. I'm going to change from that to sending you a healing. And then a couple of minutes in, I'm going to go to your bank account. Do I want bank account or pros? I'm going to go to your bank account. Maybe because I did all my banking today, I had to go to a couple of places. So just please, God, help me with my intention to receive. Change my breath, change my intention. You know, it's so interesting. I see a couple of you in your cars, and maybe this hasn't happened yet in terms of time, but in the other dimensions, everything happens at the same time. But I see a couple of you in your car, and you're getting very angry and say, I can't do this anymore. This is crazy. I can't do this anymore. But you're not saying you can't listen to my podcast. You're saying that there's something you're doing in your life that you just can't do anymore. And that's exactly why humans need problems, to stop them, so that they can look and say, what am I doing? So let me get back to giving you the healing. A lot of you are feeling in the upper part of your throat. And let me see if my producer, if she can feel it there. She's saying yes. You could feel it in your whole body, but I'm seeing it mainly from the middle of your throat up to your chin. I see a couple of you stopping and saying, I'm not doing this anymore. Something in your life, something about listening to me or what I said, or even just the mini healing is having you more clear-headed, and you're making a decision that maybe you should have made before. But let me continue, being it that it certainly appears to be working with the people that are physically around me. Okay, something is releasing around the bottom of your chest, like underneath your breasts, which is still heart chakra. There's a movement there, a lot of movement there. And that movement is moving the top of your solar plexus chakra, which is the chakra that's called the garbage can of emotions. So I think after this, if you actually received this that I am wanting you to receive, I think you're going to be emotionally feeling a lot better. So now let me go to your bank account. I don't know why I ever said I was going to do that, because I don't know if this is really going to make a difference, but you will let me know. So interesting, because what I see are lines. I see like maybe a bank account, and then I see lines, and they're all twisted. So what this healing is doing is untwisting those lines, and the central channel is completely stopped up. So it would be like the holy grail of your bank account is definitely not into wisdom or vision or connection to God. It's not connected to those energies, which is what's going to save us today. So that central channel, I'm looking, I'm doing. It would be great if I could open up that central channel right now of your bank account. I'm not going to be able to open it now because that is really significant. It's going to take more work. I do see a lot of mind strings, which is the part of our mind that creates reality, that are loosening, and they're Nile green and they're flowing. So I've never done this before. If you think it was successful for you, number one, I did two things. You, healing to you. Number two, I did to your bank account. Either one of them, we would love to hear from you, whatever your thoughts are. And by the way, for those of you that might think that I'm arrogant, that how can I possibly think I could do this sitting here in a townhouse in Coral Gables, Florida? Come on, lady, who do you think you are? Well, all humans have the ability to heal everything. And as I tell my followers, You want to heal one person? Okay, you want to heal 50. It's the same amount of work. When you work at that level, it's the same amount of work. One is the same as 50. A small mountain is the same as a big one. That superpower has a name, and I forgot. It's a Siddha, Siddha. It's a superpower and I teach you also to go into your organs. So you have to make yourself little, and then you go into your organ, or you make your organ big. That's a superpower, which has a name in Hinduism, which obviously I should look up and be able to remember. So that's it, the part of this podcast, FRANCESFOX, News from Other Dimensions, having to do with healing the issues that has everybody saying there's going to be an economic collapse. Now, can you notice how my voice is softer? How I sound more feminine? That's because I just gave you a healing. So, years ago, great, in the 90s, not that I feel great today, but I will, it was like a bit of a mess. I'd say to my staff, who needs a healing? And they'd turn around and say, Frances, you need a healing. And I said, yeah, I know that. But if I give you a healing, I'm going to get a healing. And then we'll both feel better. And then, okay, me. And I would give them a healing. So I just gave you guys a healing, and it changed me positively. And actually, it changed this podcast because you see that square with the orange outside of it? Around it are rose petals. It's no longer a square, or it's a square rounded off with a lot of rose petals. Oh, wow. Okay, let's see what time it is. Basically, we're finished. I'm going to ask the producer if there's another question that we promised to answer today that we haven't. What comes after the economic collapse? A new earth. What I think is going to happen, a lot of people have said it, is planet Earth is dividing into two huge different frequencies. You have people that are totally lost, that are crazed, that hate everything that's changing, that's happening. I don't blame them. I'm by nature a very conservative person that happens to be very multidimensional, but I'm very conservative. So you're going to have those people that are not doing anything but taking in the bad and reacting badly, and their frequency is very low. And then you have others that are waking up, and they're into the process of enlightenment. So on the planet, there's like two big sections of frequencies and then a zillion others. And it has been said for 200 years, 600 years, 1,000 years, or 5 years ago, that the planet itself will divide in two. I did not believe that for a minute. Come on. Well, the law of attraction says you cannot have two things that are absolutely in total opposition together in one place. They repel each other. So it makes sense in terms of the laws of the other dimensions that we would separate into two, but not like half of us live in India and half of us live in Timbuktu. Literally two separate planets. We don't really know. Future's elastic and plastic. That sounds a lot more plausible to me. I like that a lot better. Matches the law of attraction. But we don't really know. Even the Bible, they say we don't really know. Because the future is elastic and plastic. So, how do I end this podcast? Every time something bad happens that you think is going to be, that's it, it's the end, I'm losing my job, my kid, whatever, you remember my phrase, the future is elastic and plastic. You create it. Stop right then. Formulate a purification mantra to reduce that fear that you're feeling. And then go ahead, start with a visualization and intention mantra to create what you really want to have happen. And then there's a lot of other techniques that will help to keep your mind so you can be a solid citizen in the other dimensions rather than a wavering piece of noodle, which is what most people are today because they just don't know. Our religions have not prepared us, or they've prepared us badly. That's my ending today. Futures, elastic and plastic, saying that We're going to be here again next Tuesday, because when you are very determined the way I am, you can make stuff happen, regardless of what's happening in the external world. I'm FRANCESFOX, and this was News from Other Dimensions.